Hello and welcome to Say Hi to the Future, Ingenious Thinkers, a podcast aimed at highlighting the human side of ingenuity. My name is Ken Tencer, curator of Say Hi to the Future, helping leaders think differently in the face of uncertainty and ambiguity. Better thinking, better outcomes. With me today is Jacob Taylor, CEO of Indigenous Aerospace. Jacob Taylor, welcome to Say Hi to the Future.
Hey, thanks for having me today.
So Jacob, let me start with something different because I was looking, obviously reading a little bit about you, and I came upon your spirit name and I just thought it was so wholly relevant with what you're doing. Maybe you can tell us your spirit name and what it means.
Sure, yeah. Wasanaba Nini is to see very far straight ahead. And, in my community background teachings, you go through 3 different spirit names over your life. As a young person, you get named by, someone in your community, historically, an elder, more traditionally, your parents. And then a second name you do get from a community leader, and this was given to me by an elder, 2014, 15 now, so I guess about a decade ago. And I guess that then was, while it seems to have physicality, the viewers may not see I am wearing glasses. It's more of a metaphor to my insights into our political pathways forward as a people. And that's what I see myself doing, in my day-to-day as an entrepreneur. And then to finish, like the traditional story, the names, yeah, the third name eventually you take on for yourself. So it's sort of like what others hope for you with the first name you get, and then sort of your behavior and things get you your second name, and then in the end you come to your own conclusion on what your spirit's true name is. But anyways, here I am in this phase of life, and yeah, I find myself working in the drone industry with my forward thinking.
Jacob, that's exactly what I was getting at. I looked at it and I said, wow, what you're doing as an entrepreneur, what you're doing, within the Indigenous communities. I just thought, wow, great vision, great metaphor. So thank you for sharing that. So tell me a little bit about drones, why drones, and what you're actually doing with Indigenous Aerospace.
Yeah, sure. So for me, why drones is I've seen it as a healthcare opportunity within community context. Currently, I'm a PhD candidate at the University of North Dakota in the Indigenous Health Science program, which is housed within the Faculty of Medicine and Health Science at the institution, specifically looking at the impact of cargo or delivery drones and remote medical delivery. So medical equipment, pharmaceuticals, and biologics to labs, things of this nature, as a lot of communities are in severe remote contexts with nursing stations, not anything, much akin to a doctor's office or, of course, a hospital that a lot of us in major rural or major urban centers would have access to. So yeah, these things are really important. Some communities, their blood samples can take 4 days from the time it gets out of the patient's body and gets to the laboratory for analysis. And of course, the sample degrades over time. Similarly, it can take weeks for a prescription to get to someone who, anyone who's been ill wants that medicine pretty quickly. So I thought that all of this stuff was of crucial importance. Of course, there's a popular story that I was in a community context and a woman died as a result of not getting access to an oxygen apparatus. And that was the early inspiration. But today the reality is that the payloads are small. Much of the operations are done within visual line of sight. So that forward-thinking reality which is coming to fruit is not 100% here today. But what's here today is the ability to learn the skills, learn the regulations, and practice things that are still meaningful in a community context. So we build capacity within community to use drones simply at Indigenous Aerospace. And The current is most aerial imagery. So we're doing, community mapping, community search and rescue, community cinematography of events, as a lot of the training to build capacity. But then community, once they have the skills and insight, take on micro accreditations to use different payloads, such as a LiDAR sensor, and then they're enhancing those mapping capacities and even shifting into other capacities with it, such as forestry management or inspection of residential school properties. So the opportunities are expanding within the drone industry, and communities are gathering the basic skills from us as like the enzyme into the industry at Indigenous Aerospace, and then really blooming and having a drone life of their own in their community context. And so it's been really awesome over the years to see the communities develop in this way. And again, for me, in a long-term vision of it, I see this as preparing communities to participate in the greater industry to come, which has beyond visual line of sight operations and leading back to delivery drones, which will affect community quality of life.
Thank you for that. I mean, one of the things that I always marvel at is there's a point of time where you recognize something, and in your case, it started with medical delivery and supplies. What is that moment? I mean, what is that moment where you say to yourself, this has to be me. I've recognized this and I have to do this because that's my purpose.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a paradigm shifter, and I think really that's my purpose in life. And so this industry has me for a while, but I'm not sure, my footprint will be in this sandbox, piloting drones for how long. However, I see a couple of things with this industry is unfolding, primarily with the medical delivery side of things that has my fascination. And that's that as it unfolds, they're looking to prove out the safety of this to the larger public. There's like 10,000 people in Canada who are like professionally working in drones. That's not very much of the country. So, for other people, they want to see the public safety side, and what the Transport Canada and the operators are looking for with that is, proof of concept and even further like solidified projects that operate over low densely populated areas. And due to the colonial history, communities are in a lot of those low densely populated regions far from the urban centers. And so they're in a unique position to be the primary sites of development with this technology. And we can see projects like that going on in Africa as well with local Indigenous populations, major drone delivery enterprises. And so, since those are the sites of adoption early, and they're all with, social purposes, it's not so much getting to the Amazon package stuff right now. With a lot of it, it is the humanitarian aid type application that's really forwarding this. But because it's new technology, it's also expensive. And so the First Nation becomes a really interesting audience for a lot of people because of their relationship with the government for healthcare delivery in community context, i.e. there's a well-paying person in the stakeholder pool with this, and a high value need in the community. It's a natural gravitation that they're coming. And so I just think that communities, are also under a political pathway of self-determination and wanting to do more things for themselves. And so here is an opportunity where they can start to work on something that has large economics to it. Again, the costs are high with the technology at this time, but also parallel benefits that move people towards science, technology, engineering, math, jobs, but also therefore studies. And so we have another way to boost young people and their insights into what they can do towards moving into post-secondary and even, through their secondary education. So there's so much that it can do in our context beyond even just delivering the medicines, that it forwards politics, it forwards business. And then, I truly believe in my heart, as well as I've been going through this space, that there was no treaty signed for the sky when they were signing treaties with communities. Air traffic management, air travel was not even a concept to human beings, and certainly not a reality. So where I believe the sky is unceded, and First Nation people have an inherent right to participate in its economic activity and monitoring and surveillance related business. So drones provide all this in an emergent industry. As nothing is solidified, we have a real opportunity to make things in an ethical way that is part of the reconciliation our country is striving toward.
There's so many benefits on so many levels. So let's sort of maybe parse them
Yeah.
out a little bit here. I mean, one, you are creating one of what could be a suite of aspirational career paths within the Indigenous community. I mean, that to me, that's incredible. Because I think that historically that has been a challenge, and correct me if I'm wrong on that.
No, you are correct. It's historically been a challenge, and a lot of that with education to get people into it has been representation. First Peoples don't see themselves in the textbooks. There's lots of images of people in textbooks, not often Indigenous people. Not a lot of Indigenous teachings being in that textbook itself either. And so a part of the movement with Indigenous Aerospace and creating these drone leaders within community is also providing representation within the space so other people can see themselves in the industry too. And that's just an amazing thing. And then the other part of it is of course, video games have taken over the younger age demographic in all sorts of ways, as cell phones and video games have, rapidly improved over the years. And, of course, our longing to be connected for the land as Indigenous people. So drones provide as well a really unique way to take the talents and interests, in technology that young people have, and our elders, passion to return us to the land and merge them together. So it's really a happy thing for education that it offers so many ways to understand different, it's interdisciplinary drones. We work in all sorts of sectors, but also get people back outside, flying, seeing the land, being in tune again with weather, all sorts of different things. So yeah, it's a really happy marriage, I think, with our culture and the product.
And so what role does Indigenous Aerospace, what role does your firm play? Are you an educator? How does that work?
Yeah, so we perform as business coach to folks who get out there and start operating their own drone enterprises. We do equipment sales to continue to support their development and improvement within the space. We also provide training to, also further their participation and improvement in the space, as well as we help write the grants that they, procure, where a lot of times we're in a paternal relationship with the government where we have to request the funding for the activities we want to do. And
Mhm.
as the technology is so new and things are so foreign to most people, they need a lot of support in drafting those documents. So we're, I think I mentioned earlier, like an enzyme, a catalyst, that sort of thing for communities to participate in the sector and in their own way. When they call us, it's usually either the first responder division, the lands division, or the education division, and they have some specific interests. Sometimes it's the employment and training division, but also, again, we get calls from the political body and are interested in just service work in different categories for mapping of different territories, the most common request.
Okay. And so that is the individual, and that's great. And then what I also heard is that you play a heck of a, we can call it humanitarian or just a social community type of role, in a sense, not just of healthcare, but because it's remote, of search and rescue, of there's
Yeah,
just
so it's like
so
it's
many.
a strength-based approach, right? Like my
Yeah,
long-term ambition is to see the communities working with these heavy payloads. Right
right.
now in Canada, we're under what's known as the small RPAS regulations, 25 kilogram maximum takeoff weight, operations within visual line of sight. But by next year, we should see beyond visual line of sight regulations emerge. Of course, a next level pilot certificate to operate in that space, as well as 150 kilogram takeoff weight. So we're getting closer and closer to that reality. But today, what can you do with the operations we have available? And yeah, the search and rescue mission is huge because we have, and it's different. It's search and rescue. Sometimes it's search and recover. Sometimes it's search and arrest, depending on the first responder and depending on what their mission is and their activity with the drone. But those are all of paramount importance because community policing is underfunded, community emergency service is underfunded, and people are still traditional. They still get out on the land. So drones are providing an innovative way within the current space. You have a nice thermal camera that has a light payload on a reasonable weight aircraft that can withstand some heavy weather, winds and rains, for example, and get out there and rescue people. There's communities that we've trained that have used that technology to fly upstream, see when the ice is going to break up before it floods the community, evacuate on time, see when the ice is going to break up and get people off of the ice. Uh, Rescue people who have gone overboard when they've been out on vessels fishing, find people who get lost when they're out hunting, or even just get stuck at their hunt camps because it gets so bad they can't travel back, bring supplies to them. Even in one circumstance, not even with a delivery drone, there was a fella who was out canoeing, went onto an island, the tides changed, he got stuck there. They just were able to bring him over a lighter so he could start a fire and keep himself warm. Like really simple stuff right now, but I still see connected to health within community. And again, the application of the technology to build the literacy, the knowledge needed to operate it in a more sophisticated environment to come.
Right, right. Well, some of it, as you say, simple right now, but the near-term future looks like that's going to expand, and simple seems to still be life impacting or life changing. So beautiful start, beautiful foundation to what you look to do. Tell me about Volatus Group.
Yeah, so Volatus Aerospace is a partner company of mine. They're international, working in every sector. And so as I sought to build capacity within community, I needed a really skilled partner whose knowledge base I could leverage to build within community context. So, in the summer and fall of 2021, we got a plan together on how we were going to build capacity in community. And basically, I was able to leverage, again, their knowledge and their technical expertise to download those skills into community. So when we started out, I didn't know too many First Nation drone pilots like myself. And, through the Volatus Aerospace curriculum and things they provided, as well as early on instructors, now we've been able to build a First Nation talent pool where, those individuals are now becoming the flight reviewers and helping to build in community. So, they helped incubate Indigenous Aerospace, I suppose, to be the incubator in community. And that's how our partnership over the years has emerged.
So when you talk about in community, then you're facilitating the ability of people to get trained where they are versus long travel expenses, etc.
Right. Yeah, instead of sending, communities typically have 4 to 12 individuals that they want trained at a time in this, because they're coming from different departments usually in the nation and have different purposes with the products. And so we go where they are and show them the operations where they're going to operate. Uh, it makes sense on 2 levels. One is that, having all those individuals travel to us increase the travel cost way too much versus, us sending 2 or 3 individuals into the community. 2 is it gets them comfortable where they're at, helps us walk them through, the permissions within their airspace, et cetera, that they're actually going to have to go through rather than being theoretical. It's pragmatic training. As well, we're able to incorporate some of their culture into it. So I like to call it when technology and tradition are meeting. But so it's usually like in one of their cultural heritage sites, or we visit a cultural heritage site and do some filming. So in this way, we're able to inspire them to use this technology in all sorts of ways that uplift our people, which is, a huge part of who I am. So yeah, it's really crucial, I think, all the reasons we go into the community to deliver.
Look, one of the major discussion points, and unfortunately, it's only, become mainstream, if you will, more recently, but missing and murdered Indigenous women. What role do you think drone technology can have in finding or helping to find these individuals?
Yeah, so I do have, clients who work in first response, who we train all the time. And I mentioned a little bit earlier that it's, search and rescue, but sometimes it's search and recover, and sometimes it's search and arrest. So in the line of effort with MMIW, sometimes it can be when people have wandered off from community that they can be located faster with the drone than they could be certainly with a foot operation. But even with vehicles searching, and then the time it would take for a manned aircraft to actually get there and the resources required for that. So drones are a much more affordable and fast way to monitor the immediate vicinity. There's often a last known location with individuals where these searches can begin. So there's that, and then unfortunately, I also mentioned, that there's clients who use this in residential school inspection work. So with LiDAR technology that scans the ground, you can find disturbances in soil. And so
Right.
if there were shallow graves who were recently dug in a certain area, that's part of the, search and recover side of work. And even industry professionals might call that HRD, human remain detection. So, there's that side of it as well, but still provides peace to loved ones when bodies are recovered, right? So yeah, those are some of the ways that drones are currently being, used as forward insights. Some folks are looking at on communities that have long roads of access into them, actually having drones fly up and down and monitor it. Multiple applications for that, but one is to seeing people coming and going along the highways in and out of community, what trucks they get into, that sort of thing. So there's a lot more stuff that's coming that I think will be really useful. But yeah, those are some of the applications currently the technology is used for. And I've even had some groups in the States that reached out that are groups of Indigenous women who want the training and want the drone to be able to do this themselves. So there's a bit of a empowerment to that from the community aspect.
It's interesting because we had a guest not too long ago, Haley Amiasu, who's doing her PhD in forensics, and her goal is to uncover and to support finding of missing and murdered Indigenous women. And I'm also mentioning it too, and I don't know if there's specific studies or specific university studies, but she's also in the Dakotas.
Oh, wow, cool.
Yeah,
Yeah, well, I'd love to
I'm
be connected. And there's limited studies in Canada. I have a specific Canadian focus with a lot of my work, much of my work, even though my studies are in the States. Um, but yeah, we're just starting to form procedures and processes, I know, with our residential school projects here. So it's a great time to get involved, and I can introduce her to some other individuals if you'd be happy to share that network,
uh,
Ken.
absolutely. We're always happy to connect members of the community, especially when you're doing such good. So we will definitely do that. What's the future hold? What are you thinking about?
Yeah, so I mean, we're really trying to get ready for the next level of pilot certificate. We are forecasting coming with the beyond visual line of sight and heavier drones. And that's to prepare our current pilots for the next generation of opportunities they can do. As well, we're getting into drone racing with young people. The University of North Dakota has a drone racing team. There's a couple other academic institutions in the States. The Drone Racing League is a very popular enterprise that has as many TikTok viewers as NASCAR and other major sports events. So I'd really like to see more First Nation kids getting involved in that new sport that's unfolding as well with the space, which just provides a really fun opportunity. So yeah, just looking at some other training windows that I can get into, I guess, is the kind of summary.
So Jacob, we don't have a lot of kids listening, but if they were, they would have heard video games are good, and they can tell their parents video games are good. And now they can go out and race drones. So,
Yeah, and they can race drones and make like the top players will make 80,000 US dollars a year. They can make
wow.
good money doing this thing. Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay. I did not know this. I guess this is why we do the show, so I can keep in touch with this next generation of thinking. That's awesome. There weren't too many drones when I was in university. What can I say? Uh, so, Jacob Taylor, Indigenous Aerospace. Our time's coming to an end today on Say Hi to the Future. It's been a pleasure speaking with you. Yeah, just wish you all the best and your next steps and potential with this.
Thank you, Ken. Appreciate talking with you today.
Take care.
Bye-bye.